All right, please rise. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for sick, handicapped, military personnel recently departed of our community. Thank you. Madam, roll call.
Mr. Verducci? Here. Mr. Verducci?
Here.
Ms. Cimaroli? Here. Mr. Ferry? Virtual. Mr. Franchik?
Here.
Mr. Henderson?
Here.
Mr. Sarasnik? Here. Mayor Copeland? Here. Solicitor McDermott? Here. Engineer Brett?
Here.
Chief King?
Here.
Assistant Chief Sigmore?
Here.
And Chief Miller?
Here. Thanks, Joe. Before I get started, I just wanted to announce the council had an executive session prior to the start of the meeting to discuss a personnel matter. Next for visitors, Kim Bush.
Here.
Do you have something to say?
I do. You want me to do it now? Okay.
Sure.
It's short and sweet.
Okay.
Is it okay if I read off the paper? Okay. I have lived on Chestnut Street for 55 years. I grew up across the street from the house my husband and I purchased. The first 15 years of living here, our elderly neighbor maintained a beautiful yard. So beautiful, in fact, that it appeared in Better Homes and Gardens magazine. After her passing, the property was bought as a rental property. It quickly became ran down and decrepit from the owner's lack of maintenance and respect for the neighbors. The foliage growth quickly spiraled out of control, maple seedlings, oak seedlings, poison hemlock, among other weeds. The borough had multiple complaints, was told about it, but did absolutely nothing. Always acted as not my neighbor, so not my problem. The property is only 40 by 100 feet, with approximately 100 full-grown trees. Ridiculous. The property was then sold to a single mother who was struggling with the property. The borough then decides to make the alley a paper street. Absolutely no problem with that. We get it 100%. But that the alley was so overgrown with the trees from the Blight property, the borough should have cut them down and then said, okay, now here's your property. Years after growth and unkept tree, leaf litter, helicopters, and extensive cleanup for all the neighbors. The trees also hang over Chartier Street, creating dangerous blind spots to motorists. I am here to plead with the borough members to not be the not my neighbor, not my problem board. It would take the borough maintenance man a day to cut down the paper alley trees. Then the homeowner or I would gladly maintain it and keep it trimmed. It was the borough's fault it got so bad. Please help me and the neighbors of Chestnut Street. Thank you for your time.
Anything on that property? Have you gone through it? Or
We talked
something
about
to look
that.
at?
It came up about a year ago. Not
Yeah,
recently.
the property owner that she lives to is a single mom who lives on a corner, and so I know very well, Mike knows very well the situation out there. The street became abandoned, is that the right term?
I don't think it was ever built. It's just,
It's a paper street.
it's a paper
Paper
alley.
alley.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to, paper streets are private property. You're not empowered to spend public money cutting trees on a quote-unquote paper street.
Well, at one time, you used to be able to drive your cars down that tree.
If it's accurate that it was never a public street and it's simply.
Oh, no, it was a public street. It was.
Again, if
Yes, it was.
If it's not a public street, then it's a private, either paper. If it's paper, it's simply a piece of paper and it's actually owned by the adjacent folks. If it was actually even usable as a path and it was never dedicated, then it's a private alley, but it's not public. So unless there's an immediate public emergency, like trees are gonna fall on the road, etc., you're not empowered to spend public money on quote.
But it was, I'm sorry, but it was, that, there's a space between our fence and the alley, and that's the borough's property, correct? Because we weren't allowed to.
I would have.
Yeah, we're not allowed to build our fence over there, but I have lived here for 55 years, and I have driven a car down to Chartier Street and turned.
Okay, the fact it was navigable does not mean that it was a public street ever. Joe, we can research. I
Okay.
don't know off the top of my head what it
Okay.
ever was.
Because they just made it the paper
or
street
not.
this past spring, they made it a paper street.
We don't make things paper street. It was made a paper street when the plan was recorded decades ago,
Oh,
eons ago.
okay,
And if it's never made a public street, meaning it was paved, there was an official ordinance or something way back decades ago where it was accepted as a public street, actively maintained, paved, plowed, snowed, etc. That's what makes something a public street. If it's simply a paper street, like you can only see it on paper when you look at a plan,
Right.
it's really,
Okay,
after 21 years, it actually is a private easement.
that the borough,
No, it's a private easement for folks that live in that plan that they could exercise their rights on, but essentially, the ownership of that property, down the middle of that alley, the two adjacent property owners own come from the quote-unquote 50-yard line, that's their property, reverted back to them. The adjacent property is the owner of that property.
So I can build a fence in the middle of the alley.
Subject to any other rights that folks have to use the alley.
right, so in other words, I can build a fence in the middle of the alley then?
No.
Ah,
Well, that would be subject to other, that you can, if you do that, that would be subject to other folks who live in that plan exercising their rights to tell you you're not allowed to do that. It's not a governmental matter, it's a private property matter. If you blockade an alley that I'm using, it's a private alley behind the places, you're not allowed to do that. It's not only the abutting people, everybody that lives in the plan of lots that laid out the private alley, even if it's dirt or gravel, have rights to traverse and use that. They don't have to live near it. If a neighbor blockades that alley, and if nobody complains for 21 years, yes, then it would be considered evaporated, basically, by legal concepts. But if also, the neighbors could also sue you and make you take that chain down. Or if you put a building in the middle of that, they could say, no, you can't do that, you're blocking my ability to use the alley. But it's a private property dispute, it's not a governmental.
okay, there was a dead tree up there, and the borough did come up and cut that down.
Again, there's often times when Samaritan, and it's not in Bridgeville, there are times when frankly every DPW and folks don't always know day to day, and if there's something and they're helping and there's a tree down, are they gonna go out and cut a tree down in an emergency situation? Yes. Do I have boroughs who don't understand and maybe didn't make the call and they go out and they cut trees where they're not really supposed to? Yes. Are you supposed to? No.
So I can tell you that the road had been paved at some point. It got paved out to Chartier Street. I don't think that's even the point that she's making. The point is, it's become so thick up there. Those of us that live on Chestnut, if you pull to Chartiers, when you pull out, it's become dangerous. And I know that they're talking about putting a sidewalk going up, and it would probably take some of those trees away as part of that plan. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's a problem. And I don't know, Mike, you had your hand raised. I don't know if Joe give you the floor what you were going to say there.
No, I don't know the street as well.
Mike had his hand raised.
No, if it was a paper street, everybody has a lot, this is what you own, and there's your border. Who owns it then? You said it's like, it's owns to the neighboring property owner.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a paper street, doesn't the borough own it?
No, it's not. No, actually, it's the opposite. And again, not to get into like
And
esoteric law school stuff, but you have, just imagine a private driveway easement, okay? That's kind of, if it's not made a dedicated, there's public roads, there's private roads, and then there's paper streets. When we say paper streets, we really mean something that it's not even there, there's trees.
Well, I know,
Okay.
paper, yeah.
Then there's private alleys, which are, they're not paper anymore, somebody improved them, it might be paved, it might be gravel, it's usable, it's like a back alley in Mount Washington or something, you know what I mean, Dorm One, it may or may not be public. If it exists and it's not public, then it's a private alley, okay?
So if like.
And subject, and that easement will last forever until until it's killed somehow.
No, what I'm saying is like, if I decide I wanna put a driveway that connects the alley behind my house to Chestnut Street, and I wanna use it, and I go back and forth, it's like a private alley now, but it's mine, and somebody uses it, and I go and build a building on it, can they tell me you
Yes,
can't?
they can, that was my point. If you try to blockade, I had it happen.
No, I'm saying, but it's on my property.
I had people literally try to chain because they thought, oh no, only us people that live and touch the alley are allowed to use that. All you people across the street quit using it as a shortcut, you can't do that. Okay, because everybody that lives there and the people coming to their house and visit them, et cetera, they're allowed to use that. They're allowed to use it even though it's a private drive, and again, not to be esoteric, but everybody that owns a property, even if you're 2 streets away, if you're in that plan of lot that created Acme Alley, guess what? You're allowed, I used to joke in seminars, I can run out and down one, this is my paper street, this is my paper street, or my private alley. You can't, there are, and you blockade? Yes, you can actually, if you blockade it, and again, it's not for us, it's not for a code officer. You call it, it's for a lawyer, right? It's a private, it's almost like a trespass. And it's funny, because there are alleys where, suppose you guys all got together and you blockaded it, all you guys lived on that alley, and you treated it like it was only your guys and kept everybody out, and it's almost like squatters' rights if it's 21 years. If you blockade it or put a building in it, in the middle of it, something that's inconsistent with it being a passage anymore, and you hold your breath for 21 years, now you've killed the easement. It's no longer even an easement, and the private property owners own it. I mean, I know it's a lot of,
We have dozens of paper alleys in town, and it's quite regular that we get calls from people that essentially the paper alley is their backyard, and they enjoy the paper alley as if it is their backyard until the time comes a tree needs taken down. And I understand the sensitivity of it, but we come in and we explain a paper alley. And it is a very difficult subject to touch upon. And Tom did a very great job, maybe 4 years ago, on a letter that we used explaining paper alley ownerships. And I've shared it multiple times. I believe I even shared that letter to your neighbor last year. It's been a while, but it's been a while. But it's the same cookie cutter complaint I probably get once a month here, all over the borough.
Paper alleys are usually easements for sewer systems or.
they also are
lines.
too, yes.
That was the main purpose for them in the drawings of the plan of houses and that.
Exactly.
And as far as putting buildings on it, you gotta be able to understand that the water company might come through there and take the buildings out and run the sewers and the water lines through there. Because it's been, like you said, it's been years and years of going through that.
Now, have a second.
Hold on, I tell you what, Kim?
I just want to say one more thing.
Yep.
What you said about other boroughs doing a Good Samaritan thing, I wish everybody would please drive up and look at this property. It's awful, and maybe the borough could do a Good Samaritan thing like other boroughs. You just said that. And maybe you could do a Good Samaritan thing and help me with this property. Thank you very much. You're really rude.
And by the Good Samaritans, I know the deed goes unpunished. What I meant is it's unlawful. If you ask, if don't ask, I won't tell. But if you're asked a question, we're really not allowed to spend public money on private stuff unless limited. So, I'm going to say, immediate concern-wise, having said all that, it sounds like if there's some intersection where these trees are getting out to where they're getting into the right-of-way at the intersection of the Chestnut, is this at the corner of Chestnut and Chartiers, or that alley? Those right-of-ways interlap, okay? And if they get within Chestnut, and you guys believe there's an immediate concern of a hazard on bordering Chartiers, were those, because you do have the Chartiers right-of-way, okay?
State road.
Still public road.
Yes, but I'm saying all these trees are meant to be coming down within a year.
Okay.
So we're
My only point is if there was a public safety, you could justify if you needed to, get where you need to move.
I've known Kimmy a long time. Her frustration is with the neighbor. If in my property, Mike's property, I think those trees wouldn't be there, and I think her frustration is there. now it's gotten to the point where if you try to pull out from Chestnut, it's dangerous. And people coming down over the hill, you can't see it until you get your nose out there.
It's very touching because the other 50% owner is very defensive to
He
those
wants his
trees.
trees.
He wants his trees.
Yeah.
So that's not an easy subject.
Yeah.
Even though it touches them, no more trouble.
And they're not ours.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying out of courtesy to
Correct.
And I'm sorry, it's hard to explain without trying, I try to speak Pittsburgh English, it's hard not to.
It's fine.
You know, but.
There's no easy way to
It's
describe
hard
a paper
to
street.
swallow sometimes.
Can we get a copy of what?
Sure.
Yes, I have. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Yes, please, thanks.
We even ran into that even on Greg Street, even the frontage right away becomes an issue, like Joe was joking, the other Joe can tell us that, folks' understanding of the law on street trees is when they're nice, don't touch my tree, when they're ready to fall down, can you please come and cut down your tree?
Pat?
Yes, thank you. Tree or not to tree?
just
Many-
leave it at that. Just leave it at that.
So I said this many years ago when I sat when you were sitting. Government moves at a glacial pace. It moves with great power and great force. Sometimes when you watch those glaciers, big sheets calve off of them, crushing whatever is in their path. Sometimes these can be beautiful and wonderful things, sometimes not so much. They move at a glacial pace, and they move with great force. Bring this up to speak about the project on Greg Street. I notice that it's before you, and it's one of those projects that moves slowly, not a whole lot of connection. There's not a whole audience standing here in favor of or opposed to the steps on Greg Street. There are people in our community that have opposed those steps, and there are people that have supported them, not with great passion. But the moment in our society of intermodal transportation, of walkability, raises up. And so grants are requested, and now the borough is about to make a choice. It's going to choose to spend what is basically the cost of an average house for a set of steps to connect Laurel Street to Greg Street. A set of steps that, yes, that's nice and wonderful, but I would ask each one of you to think, would you spend the cost of an average house on those steps? If it were your house, would you sell it to buy the steps? Would you invest that money to do that project? I think you ought to think of it. It's a nice thought. And as you look at saying, well, we've gotten a wonderful state grant, I would submit to you that the state of Pennsylvania looks to the words that we as a community and our manager ask for. And they have a great deal of deference to us asking for something. Those dollars that come from the state of Pennsylvania are our dollars. So it is still the cost of a reasonable house that we're spending on these steps. And I part with, would you spend that? So thank you very much, and thank you again for taking the time to think about those things.
Thanks, Pat. All right, we go to the business part of the meeting. I need a motion to approve the May 13th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
Jason? Justine, any questions?
There's a typo.
I didn't know that's. We will correct that typo.
It's
No big. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the June 2024 bill list. Bruce? Second. Shane? Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. A motion to approve the June 14th, 21st, 28th, and July 5th, 2024 payrolls.
So moved.
Bruce,
A second.
Justine second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to ratify the adoption of resolution number 2024-6, a resolution of the Borough of Bridgeville, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, requesting a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant of $250,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the Chartiers Park Greenway Trail Project.
I'll make a motion.
Shane?
Second.
Jason? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize the solicitor and borough manager to issue and advertise a request for proposals from qualified PA licensed attorneys for professional legal services for the borough's police pension plan and non-uniform employees pension plan.
So moved.
Bruce?
I'll second.
Bill? Any questions?
I do.
Yes.
What's this different, how's this different than prior years? That, or do we always do this?
No, he retired.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the long-time pension attorney that serves most of the municipalities in Allegheny County.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to authorize the execution of the police mutual aid agreement by and among the municipalities of the Charter West Council of Governments and the Pittsburgh Technical College.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Bruce second. Any questions? All in favor? Oh, Bruce?
Read that agreement. It's long and
The way it was.
yeah,
Basically,
it's a lot you guys gotta go through.
it's renewing what was there years
Yeah.
ago, it needed updated. I mean, technically, we're covered under municipal police jurisdiction act, this is just an extra blanket that some attorneys like us.
I'm just saying that you got every legal jargon that you can go back and forth with, protect everybody, so. Didn't mean anything against it.
No, I was just letting you know, it was more or less just needed updated for
Yeah.
many years.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to offer conditional employment to Tyler Evans as a probationary full-time patrolman upon the recommendation of Chief of Police Jed King and Mayor Betty Copeland, pending the candidate successfully passing physical, drug, and psychological and weapons qualification exams. Note, hiring is from the May 23rd, 2024 Certified Police Hiring Civil Service Eligibility List.
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Jason? Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to authorize the execution of the Second Amendment to Articles of Agreement by and between the Borough of Bridgeville and Cargill, Inc. to extend the first option year from July 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024 of the annual salt contract for the purpose of procuring for the remaining contractual obligation estimated at 50 tons of salt. Bruce?
Second.
Jason? Any questions?
We don't have to use that, so.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to authorize a disbursement of $109,081.58 from the Capital Project Fund to Amarante Contracting, Inc. for partial payment number 9, final of the Warner Avenue Slope Stabilization and Retaining Wall Improvements Project. Bruce?
Second.
Jason? Any questions?
Beautiful, turned out really nice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to authorize the execution of a service order authorization for the design and engineering necessary for the completion of the Gregg Avenue Stairs project by LSSE Engineers, estimated at $28,500.
So moved.
Bill, can I have a second?
Second.
Justine, Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
A grant pays 70% of that.
A motion to appoint Nicole Steck to the Bridgeville Parking Authority Board of Directors with a term that will expire the first Monday of January 2025.
So moved.
Shane and Bruce, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to authorize the advertisement for bids for the Bower Hill Road landslide repair project.
Make a motion.
Jason?
So moved.
Bruce?
Second.
Bruce, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. A motion to accept and pay any commission due to May 2024 real estate tax collector report.
I'll make a motion.
Justine?
Second.
Bruce, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to acknowledge receipt of the May 2024 treasurer's report.
So moved.
Bruce
Second.
and Shane. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, a motion to accept all submitted May 2024 official reports.
So moved.
Bruce
Second.
and Jason. Any questions on those reports? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, you gotta talk something, because you gotta save my throat for a second. You have anything for administration?
No, I don't, sir.
For finance, really everything is going as to plan on finance. Just waiting for those couple other grant applications so we can do some more projects. I think that's enough for this month. Any questions on finance or administration? Parks and Rec, Shane.
Not much to report. Baseball, softball season's coming to a close. Mr. Cower and I met 2 weeks ago just to walk the park and look at some areas. We're gonna try to piece some kind of grant work together, talking with Justine and Jason on those field lights if we can. But getting some preliminary stuff done, but more to come on that probably next meeting. And that's it for now.
Any questions for Shane? Mr. Saraznik, Public Works?
I'll give you a break for a minute, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
There's a lot going on in Public Works. Grass cutting, weekly street sweeping right now. There's been some sanitary sewer maintenance, some flood mitigation, cleared out and hauled out sediment buildup from the commercial street culverts, and we're working on a block and run. That's been a big thing when we had the floods a couple months ago, so they're getting that all cleaned up. They're working on business districts, getting ready for Dandy Avenue, the flower beds, and the mulch, replace the handicap ramp, at the corner of Station Street in Washington, take care of everything at the parks, sign maintenance and ongoing maintenance dedicated to filling potholes and repairs throughout the street.
Okay, any questions for Jason? Public Safety, Bill?
Yeah, I had a brief conversation with the chief about an increase in accident activity up at Bank, Lesnet, and Chartiers, and so we're gonna sit and chat a little bit. We're gonna get a public safety meeting together, talk about it. I know there's been some discussions about roundabouts and all that for a number of years, but chief has noticed an increase in accident activity up there, and I think one was actually pretty serious.
Yeah, Saturday, 2 weeks ago. We just had another one up there yesterday. It's a dramatic increase, to say the least. I mean, noticeable, more crashes there probably in the last year and a half, 2 years than we've had in the previous 6 or 7 years.
Is it the intersection where everything staggers?
Yeah, and yeah, again, I know there's been talk of a roundabout or even lights, but I'm no engineer, but when you see how that road is so offset, the intersection, the ramp going up in Chartiers, I don't know what the answer is there, but it's something that needs to get addressed eventually, sooner than later.
Did they give a time frame on that grant?
No grant has been
Or I'm sorry,
submitted.
not grant, what was Steve?
We were talking to all our state legislators. It's the Nexus of 4 state roads, so we were hoping this could be a PennDOT project. We met with our state legislators, and so did Upper St. Clair. PennDOT is recommending that we complete a formal traffic study of the intersection, kind of take what the pit engineers did for us last year to make a definitive project put together that we can pitch to PennDOT for funding. Upper St. Clair, over the past couple months, was talking to their traffic engineer. They have a traffic engineer retained with a proposal, and they're supposed to have something that they will work together with us. So that's what it was. And the last time I heard anything was talking to the Upper St. Clair manager, maybe about 2 weeks ago, about this, that they bounced a scope of work for that traffic engineering study off PennDOT, and that scope of work has been finalized to move that to the next level. So there will be some multi-municipal project coming to light here within the probably next month or so, with take it to the next level of seriousness on the engineering side.
We can get together at a public safety meeting and maybe have some concerted contribution to that.
Sure.
And I think if I recall correctly, in regards to that pit study, wasn't the least expensive solution was the roundabout?
Correct.
Yeah, which is a surprise in itself.
If it works as well as the one down.
I hate to admit it, that one works
It's
great.
phenomenal.
And then I'll share the pit study with council again, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
The pit engineers did a very good job with it to show placement, phasing of the project, cost estimate, pretty much essentially everything we're gonna try to get out of a legit traffic study we had done pro bono from an engineering class at the University of Pittsburgh. And that was only last year, so I'll get out of the group.
Chief, if I may add to that, I think one thing that PennDOT generally bases their decisions on is state reportable crashes. And what's the difference between a state reportable crash and a non-reportable is a reportable crash requires there to be an injury, where someone goes to the hospital, the vehicle needs towed, or if there's unfortunately a death. Non-reportable crash is gonna be your fender benders, rear ends, where people drive away afterwards. For what it's worth, I think we should throw everything at them, because like I say, there has been an increase in the number of crashes, both reportable and non-reportable out there.
And that would be picked up with the new study, because when they did the study last year, there wasn't, we all perceived it as that it was terrible, and the data didn't back it up.
Yeah. Yeah. All of a sudden though, it's just been, it seems like every other week we get one there anymore.
Okay.
One other thing I got, Joe, is I just wanted to thank the police for this weekend. We had a community yard sale event, and there was an increase in traffic throughout the community. It was probably not a public safety discussion, but it was a great event. The weather was great, and there were so many people out and about, and by all appearances, the traffic got moved through pretty good. Shout out to Michelle Terrell, who she organized that.
Yeah,
It was awesome. That's all I got.
Thank you. Jason Ferry, do you have anything to report for the COG?
Nothing for this week.
Okay, thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing everyone at Bridgeville on the Avenue Day Saturday. And I've been asked to speak at the Knights of Columbus's Flag Day observance at Corpus Christi Parish Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Question is, will you be trying to attempt to dunk a few councilmen this year?
I'd like.
Chief, have anything to report?
Thank you, Council President. Other than thank you guys for approving the hire, and I'll get the ball rolling on that starting tomorrow morning. For Bridgeville Day on the Avenue, as always, I got another generous donation of bicycle helmets, so we will be passing out free bicycle helmets to any kid who comes to work with us.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Solicitor McDermott?
I have nothing to add to my written report.
Engineer? Nothing additional? Any questions for the engineer? And Assistant Chief?
Thank you, Council President. The month of May, we had 37 calls, bringing our calls year-to-date total of 196. Well, we got 197 now. That's all I got.
Anything for the Chief Costain is gonna be in the dunk tank too. So,
Sounds like I'm for involvement.
I always get very big supporters from the fire department. Dan, I have nothing to report. Nothing from Southbridge. Okay. And did Mary have anything to report, Mayor?
Yes, our electronic sign has been installed, and because of Layla's Asbury's perfect program on the presidents and their wives, John Euler has given us a check from his foundation to employ her as an intern for the summer at Bridgeville Historical Society. She'll be doing archiving. And our program this month on June 25th, 7:30 is the story of the Berlin airlift. We have 75 street signs still available. A lot of people that ordered them back in November still haven't come to pick them up. No programs in July and August, and no newsletters. We'll see you in September.
Thank you, Mayor. Aaron, Ridgeville Library.
We have a winter story and the story walk in Chartiers Park. We'll be having story time there every other week. So thank you for maintaining it for us. We appreciate that. Today is the first day of our summer learning program. So we'll have programs for all ages throughout the summer. This Friday, we're hosting Pittsburgh Classic Movie Club at the library. They'll have a movie outdoors on the patio. It's North by Northwest, and it will start at 9. There's going to be a popcorn truck, so come on down and watch a movie. They'll be doing that every month through September. And on the 26th, we'll be hosting Emily Loeb from the Holocaust Center of Pittsburgh. She'll be talking about her grandmother Ilsa, who survived and escaped Nazi Germany and rebuilt her life here in America.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions for the library? Deb, Parking Authority.
Hi, everybody. We have a meeting next Monday at 7 p.m. Lot number 2 landscaping and asphalt repair has been completed. The additional maintenance on lot 1 is going to be discussed at our June meeting. Lot 1 lighting. 2 new LED luminaires have arrived and are awaiting installation. The last 2 that we need will be discussed at the June meeting, and that will make lot number 1 all new lights. The board has approved the acquisition and installation of 1 new camera on Baldwin Street, and the completion is expected within 2 to 3 months. The ADA warning pad in lot number 4 is in the process of being repaired. And the last thing, we will have a booth at Bridgeville Downey Avenue that several of our vendors have given us quite a few tchotchkes to hand out. That's all I have.
Any questions for Deb? Thanks, Deb. And let's see, Planning Commission. Who's going to speak on behalf of the Planning Commission? Mr. Colmer.
Basically, the big thing we discussed was Shade Tree Commission. We're looking at, Joe's got us some different ordinances from other communities, stuff for us to start looking at. So we're not going to present it yet to you guys. We're going to kind of do our homework and figure out what it would look like. And this is all because we've been doing some really good tree planting projects in the community. We've done one on Baldwin Street. We did one on Cook School. Both of them were very successful. The turnout was from the community, people coming to volunteer to help plant trees. It was really good. That's something you have been there and saw. But to move forward with more projects like that, to get the grants for the free trees, you really need to have a Shade Tree Commission. And it helps with a lot of other things in the community as well. So that's one of the main things we're doing. Continuing to look at uses for the empty lots on Baldwin Street. I gotta get with you to go down to Millville. And then one thing that is just wasn't something we discussed, but as we're continuing looking at active transportation projects, that, because we did the active transportation project in Bridgeville, I just noticed that Safayette is going through an active transportation project, which is kind of convenient, so maybe our active transportation project should talk to their active transportation project to see what we can do as, you know, connectivity and, you know, there was stuff on our active transportation about how we can do connections between communities. So it might be a good opportunity to, you know, maybe share our plan with them, what we found and how we can work together with them. So.
If I can add one thing in regards to that shade tree commission, that will be borough property only. It's not private property, it's only borough property, parks, and right-of-ways.
Any questions for planning commission? Borough manager, Mr. Cox.
Road paving is scheduled to start next week in the borough, starting at Cookstown Park. And then we have an extensive sewer lining project that's also scheduled to start next week. Both projects will take several weeks, maybe a month.
So when am I allowed to start playing basketball?
Probably by middle of July. They say it should go quick. That's conservative.
Question for you. On Bank Street where they're cutting it up, several people have come asking questions. I pretty much know what the answer is. If you publicly express why they're cutting it, in any paper.
It's not a borough project.
Right, I know.
It's a state road, state contract, but we have been informed secondhand that there was some sinking around the catch basins. So they're being required to replace that.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's a borough road, and why are we cutting it? Why is it being cut up? And that it was a product of the contractor that did it, from my understanding.
And I think we're gonna have difficulties like this for a number of years. It's an asphalt overlay over concrete, and the concrete will continue to move, and you're gonna have that.
Yeah. But I just, for all the people asking questions. Thank you.
One quick question for you, Joe. On your final notices for high grass and weeds, what do we do from there? Borough then goes and cuts it and bills them?
No, most of them have been abated. I haven't had to cite anyone for high grass.
Okay.
The way it works is typically you get a first letter, which just goes out regular mail, just saying, hey, please cut your grass within 7 days. We'll do a follow-up inspection within so many weeks after that. If you don't, you get a certified letter that gives you 20 days per the property maintenance code that you can appeal. And after that, the borough would come in and cut the grass when a citation is issued, and a lien would be placed on the property.
Okay.
It's rare that we have to do
Yeah,
that.
but I never gets.
Usually the first letter gets most of the traction. And to be honest with you, complaints and issues are rather down compared to prior years.
Thank you.
Any new business?
Just a comment, I know I shared it with Joe. When we were going through our new plan, we talked about a position for someone advocating and soliciting for businesses and things like that. And I saw an ad from someone down in Canonsburg that's actively, looking for a restaurant and advocating, soliciting. And it'd be interesting to watch how that plays out, because that can be something good.
I actually, since we talked about it in our comprehensive plan, I actually met that gentleman that's on council in Canonsburg. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is kind of interesting that you're, I think that is something way, way far in advance, but it was interesting to see that they're moving forward and they really have been successful. Now, to my understanding, there is some incentive because of how they're getting those businesses there, but I mean, it's making the community more vibrant and trying to get those businesses in. So it'll be interesting to see how that helps. Any other new business?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, I have one more, sorry. The Bridgeville Safayette Rotary is doing, supporting the dunk tank again this year to raise money for their scholarship fund. We have several council members this year, Mr. Ferry, Mr. Franchek, and I forget who it was, oh, Mr. Cerez.
I wanted to raise it.
You bought a new bathing suit? Nice. And Fire Chief Costain, and I'm trying to get out of it, but I guess I have to do it since I'm making all these people too. So I will be on social media through the Rotary page, putting the schedule up to let everybody know when your favorite person that you would like to donate money to support. And we might have to have a little contest, I think, based on the people that are up there.
I think you'll win hands down.
Only for your birthday.
It is my birthday ironically, it's my mother's the next day, so.
I don't wanna send
Which
an
is
assault mayor of the Cook School throwing.
With a pitching coach.
Yeah, yeah. All right, make a motion, can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?